Since the verdict in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, we have seen countless blog posts, social media posts, news stories about how this is supposedly some terrible, weepy tragedy, a catastrophe for women, a catastrophe for women's rights, and the end of the MeToo movement. We're being told that the natural result of Johnny Depp winning this trial is that it will have a chilling effect on women who are the victims of domestic violence, sexual abuse, etc., and that they will no longer feel confident enough to come forward and to tell their case and to call out their abusers. Well, to that, I say complete and utter bullshit. Johnny Depp's victory in the defamation case against Amber Heard had absolutely nothing to do with social media. It had nothing to do with Johnny Depp having an army of adoring fans, and it had nothing to do with misogyny. It had everything to do with Amber Heard being an outright, provable, demonstrable liar. That's the bottom line, folks. We saw some interesting coverage emerge today in that a juror had agreed to sit down and speak with the press about their impressions, and this particular juror confirmed what any objective observer would tell you. That number one, on one hand, the jury viewed Johnny Depp as being very stable, very calm, very reasonable, and giving answers that were genuine, that were honest. You know, where he was asked the question, he would sit there, he would think about it, and he would answer the question in a realistic way, in a meaningful way, to the best of his ability. On the flip side, the jury perceived Amber Heard as A, serial liar, and B, somebody whose emotional performance was not believable. This particular juror even said, you know, at 1 minute, she would burst into tears, there'd be this huge sobbing uproar, and then she'd be fine 2 seconds later and she'd be cold as ice. They even referred to it as crocodile tears. So the jury ultimately siding with Johnny Depp was not about misogyny. It was not about Depp having an army of adoring fans. It was about the actual facts, and it was about the actual evidence, and it was about the credibility of the parties themselves. It was about the credibility of the witnesses who testified. So, you know, for once, you know, as sometimes happens, it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it does, the jury gets it right. And here, the jury got it right. No, this is not a catastrophe for women. This is not the end of MeToo. This is not going to have a chilling effect against women who truly are the victims of domestic violence and domestic abuse. Let's just look around and survey the landscape right now. In the Deshaun Watson case, you have literally, at this very moment, more women coming forward to accuse Deshaun Watson of sexual abuse or sexual misconduct. And, you know, as a lawyer who has been involved in many cases in that space and also many defamation cases, you know, my take on the Deshaun Watson case is entirely different than my take on the Johnny Depp case. For as much as I say Johnny Depp was absolutely innocent and was himself the victim of domestic violence and domestic abuse, my read on the Deshaun Watson case goes the other direction. In my opinion, Deshaun Watson was going around getting a whole bunch of massages and sort of trying to like finagle them into sexual encounters. And that is creepy as fuck, okay? So Deshaun Watson has got problems. And if somebody came out in the media and said, you know, Deshaun Watson is, you know, he's basically a sexual predator and he touched me without consent and he sexually assaulted me. If somebody came out in the media and said that and Deshaun Watson sued them for defamation, I would have the opposite take of the Johnny Depp case. I would tell you, like, no, Deshaun Watson is going to lose his defamation case. Why? Not because of gender politics and not because of narratives, you know, that people are wedded to, that they want to push, right? The whole sort of nonsense about this being the result of misogyny and it's so bad for women and it's a catastrophe and it's the end of Me Too, all of that is not based on the facts of the trial, on the evidence presented, and on what really happened. That entire narrative is about an ideological sort of political position that certain segments of our society are latched onto regardless of the facts, regardless of the realities, regardless of what actually happened. And that particular ideology, that particular narrative from that segment of the population, they never say what they actually mean. But if you translate it, what it really gets to is that, one, we have to believe every single woman anytime she claims that a man did something wrong, because we always have to believe the women, period, point blank, right? That was the hashtag, right? We have to believe all the victims, right? And that was a nonsense kind of Twitter sloganeering hashtag thing to begin with, because of course you don't just believe anybody who claims to be a victim. And that's what ultimately happened with this sort of movement, right? It went in the direction of believe anybody who claims to be a victim. And that's a problem, right? We can't just believe anybody who claims to be a victim, because then we create a society where claiming to be a victim automatically gives you a certain amount of power and a certain amount of capital, i.e. Jussie Smollett, right? Was Jussie Smollett jumped by two dudes in Chicago who were screaming, "This is MAGA country"? Abso-flipping-lutely not. But he did it, he fabricated it, and he went the distance on it because he wanted that victimhood capital. See, in America today, victimhood is capital. Victimhood is currency. And it's even more nefarious than that, because one doesn't have to be the actual victim to get that capital and to get that currency. All they need to do is claim to be a victim. And if they claim to be a victim and they have the right alignment in terms of race, gender, sexuality, intersectionality, identity politics, if they have the right alignment built in and tied into their victimhood narrative, then they can claim to be a victim and they automatically get a certain amount of power and a certain amount of capital. And that's what this is about, right? This has nothing to do with the facts on the ground at the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. This has nothing to do with who was guilty or who was innocent. This has nothing to do with who was the real victim and who was the real abuser. This is about a narrative, and it's about politics, and it's about identity politics, and it's about anybody who claims to be a victim, we believe them. Caveat, if it comes down to a woman and a straight man, then the woman claiming to be the victim automatically wins. And then the third piece of it is that men can't be victims of domestic violence when the counterparty, when the alleged abuser is a woman. That's really what this segment of the population is saying. The people who are outraged over Johnny Depp prevailing at trial, that's the ultimate upshot of what they want. That anybody who claims to be the victim, you know, they get a pass, they are the victim, but the caveat is they have to be a woman or they have to have the right alignment in terms of race, gender, sexuality, identity politics, etc. And then finally that, you know, as between, you know, a straight man and anybody else, you know, the straight man is obviously the bad guy. That's what this is about, folks. It has nothing to do with the underlying facts of it. No, it's not misogynistic. No, it's not a catastrophe for women's rights. Women will still come forward, rightfully so, and face their abusers and speak truth to power and pursue their rights and their vindication and pursue justice in court. And, you know, hopefully these cases will shake down the way they should. Hopefully they'll shake down fairly, you know, with people who are truly victims prevailing and with people who are truly abusers being held accountable for their misconduct. And that's exactly what happened here in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. It has nothing to do with any of this other nonsense. And you see right now, if you look at, you know, sort of Amber Heard and her public statements to the media, she is a sociopath. She is a predatory sociopath. And that's why she lost, and lost fairly.